The smell of turkey and lies filled my kitchen that Thanksgiving morning, and I couldn't tell which was more nauseating. My name is Tom Rourke, and at 42, I thought I'd seen enough of life's curveballs to duck when they came my way. Turns out I was wrong about that, just like I was wrong about a lot of things. Tom, did you remember to pick up the cranberry sauce? Lisa called from the dining room, her voice carrying that particular edge it got when she was orchestrating one of her perfect family gatherings. My wife of 20 years had turned event planning into an art form, especially when it came to impressing people who didn't really matter. Got it covered, I replied, pulling the can from the grocery bag. Ocean spray, because apparently the homemade stuff Janice offered to bring wasn't good enough for Lisa's standards. Everything had to be just right for Maddie's 19th birthday celebration, which we'd combined with Thanksgiving dinner this year. I manage Peterson's auto shop downtown, which means I spend my days elbow deep in engine grease and listening to people complain about repair costs. It's honest work, but Lisa never missed a chance to remind me that her HR manager's salary at Meridian Insurance kept us in our suburban ranch house with the white picket fence and two-car garage. Tyler's here! Maddie's voice rang out from the front door, followed by the sound of footsteps and muffled conversation. Tyler Groves was my daughter's college boyfriend, a 21-year-old business major with perfectly styled hair and a smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. The kid had that golden boy thing going for him that made adults automatically assume he was destined for success. I walked into the living room just as Tyler was handing Lisa a bottle of wine, some expensive label I'd never heard of. "Mrs. Rourke, you look amazing," he said, flashing that $1,000,000 grin. "That dress is really something." Lisa practically glowed under the compliment, smoothing down her new burgundy dress that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. "Oh, Tyler, you're too sweet. And please, call me Lisa." Something about the way they looked at each other made my stomach twist, but I pushed the feeling aside. I was probably just being paranoid. After all, what middle-aged woman doesn't enjoy a compliment from a handsome young man? "Dad, come say hi to Tyler," Maddie said, grabbing my arm and pulling me forward. My daughter looked radiant in her college confidence, her dark hair falling in waves around her shoulders. She'd grown up so fast, sometimes I still saw the little girl who used to help me change oil filters on weekends. "Tyler," I nodded, extending my hand. His handshake was firm but brief, his attention already drifting back to Lisa, who was examining the wine label with exaggerated interest. "Mr. Rourke, thanks for having me. Your home is beautiful." "Tom's fine," I said. "And Lisa's the one who deserves the credit for the decorating." The afternoon progressed with the usual family gathering chaos. My sister Janice arrived with her famous green bean casserole and immediately started interrogating Tyler about his intentions toward Maddie. Lisa's friends Heather and Trish showed up fashionably late, armed with gossip and side dishes that looked like they came from the fancy grocery store across town. I found myself watching interactions more carefully than usual, noticing things that might have escaped my attention before, like how Tyler always seemed to position himself near Lisa during conversations, how Lisa laughed just a little too loudly at his jokes, how they both disappeared around the same time when Lisa went to check on the turkey and Tyler needed to make a phone call. "Tom, you're being awfully quiet," Heather observed, settling into the armchair with her third glass of wine. "Cat got your tongue?" "Just enjoying the show," I replied, which earned me a sharp look from Lisa. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Pete Martinez, my business partner and closest friend, arrived just as we were setting the table. He'd been divorced for 5 years and treated family gatherings like anthropological studies, which made him excellent company for my current mood. "Smells good in here," Pete said, surveying the scene. "And looks like everyone's having a grand time." "Oh, we are," Lisa said quickly. Tyler was just telling us about his internship at his father's investment firm. Isn't that exciting? Tyler launched into a practiced speech about market trends and portfolio management, the kind of talk that was supposed to impress adults, but mostly sounded like rehearsed buzzwords to me. I noticed how Lisa hung on every word, nodding enthusiastically and asking follow-up questions that seemed designed to keep him talking. Maddie beamed with pride at her boyfriend's performance, but I caught something else in her expression. A flicker of uncertainty, maybe even annoyance, when Lisa monopolized Tyler's attention for too long. "Dinner's ready," Lisa announced, and we all shuffled toward the dining room like a well-rehearsed parade. The meal itself was a masterpiece of suburban perfection. Lisa had outdone herself with the presentation, and conversation flowed around topics safe enough for mixed company. Tyler regaled us with stories from college, carefully edited to make him sound ambitious and responsible. Janice shared updates about her job at the library. Heather and Trish gossiped about mutual acquaintances who weren't present to defend themselves. I played my role as the quiet, steady husband and father, carving turkey and refilling wine glasses, while Lisa orchestrated the evening like a conductor leading a symphony. But I was also cataloging details, storing away observations that my instincts were telling me might matter later, like how Tyler's phone buzzed constantly throughout dinner and how he kept it face down beside his plate. How Lisa excused herself twice to check on dessert, even though everything was clearly under control. How they never made eye contact with each other when other people were looking, but I caught them exchanging glances when they thought no one was paying attention. "Time for birthday cake," Lisa announced as we finished the main course. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a chocolate masterpiece decorated with 19 candles and "Happy Birthday, Maddie," written in elegant script. We sang the traditional song while Maddie made her wish and blew out the candles. Everyone applauded and started clearing dishes, the evening winding toward its natural conclusion. "I'll get the pie," I offered, heading toward the kitchen with an armload of plates. "Oh, Tom, just leave those," Lisa called after me. "Tyler offered to help with cleanup." I paused in the kitchen doorway, balancing dishes and processing what I'd just heard. Tyler helping with cleanup? The same kid who hadn't lifted a finger all evening except to raise his wine glass? I set the plates on the counter and grabbed the pumpkin pie from the refrigerator, along with a can of whipped cream. The house had grown quieter, conversation reduced to murmurs from the dining room where Janice was probably interrogating Heather about her latest dating adventures. Walking back toward the living room, I stopped short at what I saw. Lisa and Tyler were pressed against each other near the fireplace, his hands on her waist, her fingers tangled in his hair. They were kissing with the kind of passion that belonged in private bedrooms, not family living rooms where anyone could walk in. The pie slipped from my hands and hit the hardwood floor with a wet splat, pumpkin filling, and ceramic shards scattering across Lisa's pristine rug. They broke apart like teenagers caught by parents, Tyler's face flushing red while Lisa smoothed her dress and tried to compose herself. "Tom," she started, her voice shaky, "it's not what it looks like." I stood there for a long moment, looking at my wife of 20 years and my daughter's boyfriend, both of them breathing hard and avoiding eye contact. The whipped cream can was still in my hand, and I had the absurd urge to spray it all over their guilty faces. "Well," I said finally, my voice surprisingly steady. "That's one way to ruin a party." I turned around and walked out of the room, leaving them standing there among the pie debris and shattered pieces of what used to be my normal life. Behind me, I could hear Lisa calling my name, but I kept walking until I reached the garage, where I sat in my truck and started planning my revenge. The garage was cold and quiet, just me and the lingering smell of motor oil from work clothes I'd forgotten to wash. I sat in my truck for maybe 10 minutes, letting the reality of what I'd seen sink in. 20 years of marriage, and my wife was making out with our daughter's boyfriend in our living room while I served pie to her friends. The rational part of my brain kept trying to find alternative explanations. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Tyler had something in his eye and Lisa was helping him. Maybe I'd finally snapped from too many years of carburetor fumes and was hallucinating the whole thing. But I knew what I'd seen, and more importantly, I knew what I was going to do about it. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app, then walked back toward the house. If Lisa wanted to play games, I'd make sure I had all the rules figured out first. The living room was empty when I returned. Pie cleaned up like nothing had happened. I could hear voices from the kitchen. Lisa's laugh a little too bright, Tyler's responses a little too eager. They were putting on a show for the others, pretending everything was normal. "There you are," Janice said when I appeared in the doorway. "Lisa said you went to check on something in the garage." "Just making sure I turned off the compressor," I replied, slipping my phone into my shirt pocket with the recording app still running. "You know how it is." Lisa shot me a look that was part relief, part warning. She was testing to see if I planned to make a scene in front of everyone. Tyler was studying his shoes like they contained the secrets of the universe. "Tyler was just telling us about his plans after graduation," Heather said, oblivious to the tension crackling through the room. "Sounds like he's got quite the future ahead of him." "Oh, I'm sure he does," I said, meeting Tyler's eyes directly for the first time since the living room incident. "Some people are just natural at getting what they want, aren't they?" The kid had the grace to look uncomfortable, but Lisa jumped in before he could respond. "Tom, could you help me with the coffee? I can't reach the good cups." She practically dragged me toward the cabinet, positioning herself so her back was to the others. When she spoke, her voice was low and urgent. "We need to talk, later, after everyone leaves." "I'm sure we do," I replied, loud enough for my phone to pick up clearly. "Should be an interesting conversation." The rest of the evening crawled by like a wounded animal. I played the gracious host, refilling drinks and making small talk while my recording app captured every interaction. Lisa and Tyler were being careful now, maintaining appropriate distance and avoiding direct conversation, but the damage was done. I had what I needed to confirm my suspicions. Pete was the last to leave, lingering in the driveway while I walked him to his car. "Everything okay in there?" he asked, fishing his keys from his jacket pocket. "You seemed a little off tonight." "Just tired," I said. "You know how family gatherings can be." He studied my face in the porch light, and I could see him debating whether to push the issue. Pete had good instincts about people, which made him an excellent business partner and an even better friend. "You need anything, you call me," he said finally. "Doesn't matter what time." I watched his taillights disappear down the street, then walked back into the house where Lisa was waiting in the kitchen. Tyler and Maddie had retreated to her room, presumably so he could say goodbye before heading back to his apartment. "Sit down," Lisa said, gesturing toward the kitchen table. She'd changed out of her burgundy dress into jeans and a sweater, trying to look casual and approachable. "Let me explain what happened." "I'm listening," I said, settling into my usual chair and making sure my phone was still recording. "It was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless mistake." She sat across from me, her hands folded on the table like she was about to deliver a presentation. "Tyler's been having problems with his girlfriend at school, and he was upset. I was just trying to comfort him." "By sticking your tongue down his throat?" Lisa flinched at the bluntness but pressed on. "It happened so fast. One minute we were talking, and the next minute he was kissing me. I was shocked. I didn't know how to react. You seemed to be reacting just fine from where I stood." "Tom, please. You have to believe me. It didn't mean anything." I leaned back in my chair, studying my wife's face. She was good at this. I had to give her credit. The right amount of remorse, the perfect balance of explanation and apology. If I hadn't seen what I'd seen, I might have actually believed her. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "It's not going on. That was the first time anything like that ever happened." "Lisa, I swear to you, Tom. On Maddie's life, I swear it was just tonight." The mention of our daughter's name hit like a physical blow, This wasn't just about Lisa and me anymore. This was about Maddie's boyfriend, her trust, her relationship. How long before she found out? How long before everyone knew? What about Tyler? What's his version of events? Lisa's composure cracked slightly. He feels terrible about it. He knows it was wrong. He's planning to break up with Maddie anyway, so this won't happen again. He's planning to break up with her? They've been having problems. He told me tonight that he doesn't think they're compatible long-term. The pieces were starting to fit together in ways that made my stomach turn. Tyler confiding in Lisa about his relationship problems. Lisa playing the understanding older woman. The two of them finding comfort in each other while my daughter remained oblivious upstairs. So you're telling me that our daughter's boyfriend decided to end their relationship by making out with her mother? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Lisa? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been playing house with a 21-year-old while I've been working 60-hour weeks to pay for your perfect suburban lifestyle. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up, my chair scraping against the tile floor. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I walked into my own living room and found my wife cheating on me with our daughter's boyfriend? Is it fair that Maddie has no idea her mother and her boyfriend are carrying on behind her back? Keep your voice down, Lisa hissed, glancing toward the stairs. She doesn't need to know about this. Oh, she's going to know. Everyone's going to know. Lisa's eyes narrowed, and for the first time that evening, I saw the calculating woman I'd been married to for 2 decades instead of the remorseful wife she'd been playing. No, Tom, they're not, because if you say anything to anyone about tonight, I'll make sure you regret it. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You think I don't know about your little indiscretions over the years? Your late nights at the shop with Jenny Morrison? Your weekend trips to Chicago that were supposedly about car parts? Jenny Morrison was a parts supplier I'd worked with for 3 years. Our relationship was purely professional, but I could see how Lisa might twist innocent interactions into something more sinister. As for Chicago, those trips were legitimate business, but I couldn't prove it if Lisa decided to create an alternative narrative. You're bluffing. Lisa pulled out her phone and scrolled through something, then turned the screen toward me. It was a photo of me and Jenny at a restaurant in Chicago, taken during a trade show dinner 2 years ago. We were sitting across from each other at a table, both smiling, and without context, it could easily look like a romantic dinner. I have more, Lisa said quietly. Photos, receipts, hotel records. Enough to make your life very complicated if you decide to make mine complicated. I stared at the photo, my mind racing through the implications. Lisa had been building a case against me, collecting evidence of imagined infidelity while carrying on her own very real affair. The level of calculation involved was staggering. So what are you proposing? I asked. We pretend tonight never happened. Tyler breaks up with Maddie gently, citing compatibility issues. You and I work on our marriage. Nobody gets hurt. Except Maddie. Maddie will get over her first college boyfriend. She's young. She'll meet someone else. I looked at my wife, really looked at her, and realized I was seeing a stranger. The woman I'd married, the mother of my child, had become someone capable of betraying her own daughter to protect her affair. I need time to think about this, I said finally. Don't take too long, Lisa replied, sliding her phone back into her pocket. Tyler's planning to talk to Maddie this weekend. I walked upstairs and went to bed, but I didn't sleep. Instead, I lay there planning my next move, listening to Lisa's breathing beside me and thinking about revenge. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that 20 years of marriage had taught me a few things about her weaknesses too, and I was going to exploit every single one of them. I called in sick to work the next morning, something I hadn't done in over 2 years. Pete sounded concerned when I told him I had a family emergency to deal with, but he didn't ask questions. That's the thing about good friends. They know when to give you space. Lisa left for her job at Meridian Insurance like nothing had happened, kissing my forehead before she walked out the door. The gesture felt like a slap, but I smiled and told her to have a good day. If she wanted to play the devoted wife, I could play the clueless husband. For about 5 more minutes. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I was in her home office, looking for evidence. Lisa was meticulous about record-keeping, a trait that served her well in human resources and was about to serve me even better. Her computer was password-protected, but I knew Lisa well enough to guess that she'd use Maddie's birthday combined with our anniversary year. 3rd try, and I was in. Her email was a gold mine. 3 months of messages with Tyler, starting innocent enough with questions about Maddie's happiness and gradually escalating into something that made my stomach turn. They'd been planning this affair for weeks, discussing when and where to meet, how to keep Maddie from finding out. Lisa had even researched hotels in the next town over, though apparently they'd decided my living room was a better option. I forwarded everything to my personal email, then started digging through her text messages. More of the same, plus photos that confirmed this wasn't their first physical encounter. Tyler shirtless, in what looked like a hotel room. Lisa in lingerie I'd never seen before. Messages about how exciting it was to sneak around, how much more mature Lisa was than girls their age. The betrayal cut deeper with every message, but I kept working. Emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. I needed evidence, and Lisa had provided plenty. Her social media accounts revealed another layer of deception. Posts about what a wonderful husband I was, how blessed she felt to have such a strong marriage, how proud she was of Maddie's relationship with Tyler. The comments from her friends were nauseating in retrospect, all of them praising Lisa's perfect family life while she was busy destroying it behind the scenes. I spent the morning building my case, organizing evidence into folders and backing everything up to multiple locations. Then, I started phase 2 of my plan. Heather Chen was Lisa's closest friend and biggest gossip. She worked as a receptionist at a dental office and had the kind of personality that treated other people's secrets like currency. If I wanted information to spread quickly through Lisa's social circle, Heather was my distribution center. I called her office around lunchtime, disguising my voice slightly and claiming to be a delivery driver with a package for Lisa Rourke. "Oh, she's not here," Heather said. "This is her friend, Heather. Can I help you?" "The package is marked confidential, but I'm having trouble reaching Mrs. Rourke at her office. Do you know if she's been staying somewhere else lately? Maybe with a friend or relative?" "Staying somewhere else? No. Why would she—" "Wait. Who did you say this was from?" "The return address says Tyler Groves. Looks like flowers, but I need a signature." The silence on the other end of the line stretched long enough for me to count to 10. Tyler. Tyler Groves? Maddie's boyfriend, Tyler? "I don't know, ma'am. I just deliver what I'm told to deliver." "Well, that's very strange. Are you sure you have the right Lisa Rourke?" "Address matches what I have here. Maybe I should just return it to sender." No, don't do that. Let me try to reach Lisa and have her call you. What's your number?" I gave her a fake number and hung up, then settled back to wait. Heather would be calling Lisa within 5 minutes, and Lisa would be scrambling to explain why Tyler was sending her flowers. The seed of doubt was planted. My phone rang 20 minutes later. Lisa's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "Tom, I just got the strangest call from Heather. She said someone was trying to deliver flowers to me from Tyler. Do you know anything about that?" "Flowers? That's weird. Maybe they're for Maddie and got mixed up somehow?" "Maybe, but why would they have my name on them?" "Could be a mistake. You know how these delivery services are." I could practically hear Lisa's brain working through the possibilities. She knew I was capable of playing games, but she couldn't be sure if this was my doing or just a coincidence. "Tom, about last night. I've been thinking about what I said, and I want you to know that I'm willing to work on things. Really work on them. Maybe we could see a counselor." "That's a nice thought, Lisa. We should definitely talk about that when you get home." After I hung up, I called Pete and asked him to meet me for lunch at Murphy's bar, a dive near the auto shop where we'd been grabbing burgers for 15 years. Pete took one look at my face and ordered us both double whiskey with our food. "Okay," he said once the server was out of earshot. "What's going on?" I told him everything. The affair, the blackmail, Lisa's threats, my morning of evidence gathering. Pete listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each detail. "That's messed up, Tom. Even for Lisa, that's really messed up. It gets worse. She's been planning this for months, and she's got some kind of exit strategy that involves making me look like the cheater. The photos she showed you? Fake context, but they'd be convincing to anyone who didn't know better. She's been setting me up while she was setting up her affair." Pete drained his whiskey and signaled for another. "So, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to destroy her. Professionally, socially, completely. She wants to play dirty? I'll show her what dirty looks like." "You need help?" "I need a witness. Someone who can verify what I'm about to do is legal and justified." "You've got it." We spent the next hour planning my campaign. Pete had connections throughout the city, people who owed him favors or just enjoyed good gossip. By the time we left Murphy's, we had a strategy that would systematically dismantle Lisa's reputation and social standing. The first target was her workplace. Meridian Insurance had strict policies about employee conduct, and Lisa's position in human resources made her particularly vulnerable to scandal. I didn't need to prove she was having an affair. I just needed to raise enough questions about her judgment and professionalism to make her supervisors uncomfortable. I created an anonymous email account and sent Lisa's boss, Robert Hanley, a carefully worded message expressing concern about an employee's relationship with a much younger man. I didn't mention names, but I included enough details about company parties and office behavior to make it clear who I was talking about. I also attached one of the less explicit photos from Lisa's phone, cropped to remove identifying features, but still obviously inappropriate for someone in her position. The second target was Tyler's family. The Groves were old money, the kind of people who valued reputation above almost everything else. Tyler's father was a partner in a prestigious investment firm, and his mother served on the boards of several charitable organizations. They would not be pleased to learn their golden boy was carrying on with a married woman twice his age. I printed out the most damning email exchanges and mailed them anonymously to Tyler's parents, along with a note expressing sympathy for their situation and concern for their family's reputation. The third target was Lisa's social circle. I created fake social media accounts and started planting seeds of doubt in online conversations. Nothing too obvious, just innocent questions about Lisa's recent behavior and comments about how close she seemed to be getting to Tyler. Heather's earlier phone call had already started the gossip mill turning. I just needed to keep feeding it fuel. By the time Lisa came home from work, I had launched a three-pronged attack on her carefully constructed life. She walked into the kitchen looking frazzled, her perfect composure cracking around the edges. "Tom, we need to talk." "Sure. How was your day?" "My day was terrible. Robert called me into his office this afternoon and asked me some very uncomfortable questions about my personal life." "What kind of questions?" "Someone sent him an email suggesting I was having an inappropriate relationship with a younger man. He wanted to know if there was anything I needed to tell him about my conduct outside the office." I made what I hoped was a concerned face. "That's awful. What did you tell him?" "I told him it was probably just malicious gossip from someone who wanted to cause trouble for me. But Tom, what if this gets out? What if people start talking?" "People are already talking, Lisa. Heather called you today about flowers from Tyler, remember?" Lisa sank into a chair at the kitchen table, her head in her hands. "This is a nightmare. If I lose my job, maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair." Her head snapped up, eyes flashing with anger. "I told you it wasn't an affair. It was one kiss. One stupid mistake." "Right. Just one kiss. That's why you have 3 months of emails planning secret meetings and hotel visits." The color drained from Lisa's face. You went through my computer. Your computer, your phone, your social media accounts. Amazing what you can find when you know where to look. You had no right. I had every right. You're my wife and you're having an affair with our daughter's boyfriend in my house. I'd say that gives me the right to protect myself. Lisa stood up, pacing to the window and back. Okay, fine. Yes, Tyler and I have been seeing each other. But it's not what you think. We're in love, Tom. Real love. Not this lifeless marriage we've been pretending to keep going. You're in love with a 21-year-old. Age doesn't matter when you connect with someone the way we connect. Tyler understands me in ways you never have. He makes me feel alive again. He makes you feel young again. There's a difference. You don't understand. You've never understood what I need, what I want out of life. Tyler sees me for who I really am. A middle-aged woman who seduces her daughter's boyfriend? Lisa's hand cracked across my face before I saw it coming. The slap echoed through the kitchen, and we stood there staring at each other, both breathing hard. I want a divorce, she said quietly. Good. So do I. But it's going to be on my terms, not yours. What's that supposed to mean? It means your little blackmail scheme isn't going to work. I've got evidence of your affair, Lisa. Real evidence, not doctored photos and imagined scenarios. When this goes to court, everyone's going to know exactly what kind of person you really are. Tom, please, think about Maddie. Think about what this will do to her. I am thinking about Maddie. I'm thinking about how devastated she's going to be when she finds out her mother has been sleeping with her boyfriend for 3 months. I'm thinking about how humiliated she'll be when her friends find out. I'm thinking about how this betrayal is going to affect her ability to trust people for the rest of her life. It doesn't have to be like that. We can handle this quietly, maturely. No, Lisa, we can't. Because you decided to handle it publicly when you started making out in my living room during Thanksgiving dinner. You decided to handle it publicly when you threatened to destroy my reputation to cover up your affair. You wanted drama? Congratulations. You're about to get more drama than you can handle. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but the message made me smile. Mr. Rourke, this is Tyler. We need to talk. Can you meet me tonight? I showed Lisa the message and watched her face go pale. He's scared, I said. His parents probably got my little care package today. I'm betting they had some very interesting questions for their golden boy. Tom, don't meet with him, please. This can still be contained. Oh, I'm definitely meeting with him, and you're going to be there too. It's time for all 3 of us to have an honest conversation about the future. I texted Tyler back, suggesting we meet at Murphy's bar in an hour. Then I called Pete and asked him to bring his camera. If Lisa and Tyler wanted to play adult games, they were going to face adult consequences. The war was just getting started. Murphy's bar at 7 on a Friday night was exactly what you'd expect from a place that catered to mechanics, construction workers, and people who measured their problems in beer bottles. The lighting was dim enough to hide stains on the tables, and the jukebox played classic rock at a volume that discouraged intimate conversation. Perfect for what I had in mind. Pete arrived first, sliding into the booth across from me with a small digital camera in his jacket pocket. You sure about this? He asked, glancing around the room. I'm sure. Lisa wants to play games. Tyler wants to play games. They can both learn what happens when you play games with someone who's got nothing left to lose. Tyler walked in 10 minutes later, looking like he'd aged 5 years since Thanksgiving dinner. His perfect hair was disheveled, his usual confident posture replaced by the nervous energy of someone who knew he was in serious trouble. He spotted me immediately and approached our table with the reluctant shuffle of a man walking to his own execution. Mr. Rourke, he said, sliding into the booth next to Pete. Thank you for meeting me. Tom's fine, and this is my friend Pete. He's here as a witness to make sure everyone behaves themselves. Tyler nodded at Pete, then focused on me with the intensity of someone trying to sell a used car with a blown transmission. Look, I know you're upset about what you saw yesterday, and I want you to know how sorry I am about the whole thing. Which part are you sorry about? The 3 months of planning, the hotel meetings, or just getting caught? His face went through several color changes before settling on a pale green that matched the bar's neon beer signs. You know about the other times? Tyler, I know about everything. The emails, the text messages, the photos. I know you've been planning to break up with my daughter so you can run away with my wife. I know you think you're in love with a woman who could be your mother. What I don't know is what kind of man you think you are. It's not like that. Lisa and I, we have a real connection. Age doesn't matter when two people understand each other the way we do. Pete snorted into his beer. Kid, that's the oldest line in the book. You think you're the first 21-year-old to fall for an older woman who tells him he's mature for his age? You don't understand. Lisa's different. She's not like other women. You're right, I said. Most women don't seduce their daughters' boyfriends. Tyler's jaw tightened, and for a moment I saw a flash of the entitled kid beneath the remorseful act. Lisa didn't seduce me. If anything, I pursued her. She tried to resist at first. How noble of her. Mr. Rourke, Tom. I know this situation is complicated, but Lisa and I are planning to handle it the right way. She's going to ask you for a divorce, and I'm going to end things with Maddie gently. Nobody has to get hurt. Nobody has to get hurt? Tyler, my daughter is in love with you. My wife has been lying to me for months. My marriage is over, my family is destroyed, and you think nobody has to get hurt? I meant nobody has to get hurt unnecessarily. We can handle this like adults. I leaned forward, lowering my voice to the tone I used with customers who tried to argue about repair bills. Here's how we're going to handle this like adults, Tyler. You're going to stay away from my wife and my daughter. You're going to transfer to a different school, or at least make sure you never cross paths with Maddie again. And you're going to pray that I don't decide to share what I know about you with everyone in your social circle. You can't make me do that. I can't make you do anything. But I can make your life very unpleasant if you don't. Your parents got some interesting reading material today, didn't they? Tyler's composure finally cracked completely. That was you. My father called me this morning screaming about family reputation and moral character. My mother won't even speak to me. They're threatening to cut me off financially if I don't end this immediately. Smart parents. You don't understand what you've done. My father has connections throughout the business community. If this gets out, it could ruin my career before it even starts. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair with a married woman. It's not an affair, it's a relationship. It's statutory stupidity is what it is. Pete was recording everything on his phone, holding it low enough to be discreet, but positioned to catch both Tyler's voice and his increasingly agitated body language. The kid was falling apart, and we were documenting every moment of it. What do you want from me? Tyler asked finally. I want you gone. Out of Maddie's life, out of Lisa's life, out of my life. I want you to disappear so completely that in 6 months, we'll all have trouble remembering your name. And if I don't? I pulled out my own phone and scrolled to the photo gallery I'd prepared earlier. Screenshots of Tyler's text messages to Lisa, including several that would make his conservative parents reach for their heart medication. Then everyone gets to see what kind of man their golden boy really is. Your parents, your professors, your classmates, your future employers. I've got enough evidence to turn you into a cautionary tale about moral character. Tyler stared at the phone screen, his face cycling through anger, fear, and resignation. This is blackmail. This is consequences. You made adult choices, now you get to face adult results. What about Lisa? Are you going to destroy her too? Lisa can take care of herself. She's been doing it for months. As if summoned by her name, Lisa walked into Murphy's bar, scanning the room until she spotted our table. She'd changed clothes since our kitchen confrontation, trading her work attire for jeans and a sweater that made her look younger and more vulnerable. The calculated casualness of it made my teeth ache. She approached our table with the careful steps of someone walking through a minefield. "Tyler called me," she said, sliding into the booth next to him. "He said you wanted to meet. I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page about how this situation is going to be resolved. Tom, please, can we talk about this privately, without an audience?" "Pete stays. He's here to make sure everyone remembers this conversation the same way." Lisa glanced at Pete's phone, clearly aware that she was being recorded. "Fine. What do you want?" "I want my wife to stop having an affair with our daughter's boyfriend. I want Tyler to disappear from our lives. I want this whole mess cleaned up before Maddie gets hurt any worse than she already will be." "Maddie doesn't have to know about any of this," Lisa said. "Tyler and I have already discussed how to handle the breakup. He's going to tell her they've grown apart, that they want different things. It'll be sad, but it won't be traumatic." "And then what? You two ride off into the sunset together?" Lisa and Tyler exchanged a look that confirmed my suspicions about their long-term plans. They'd been discussing more than just ending their current relationships. They'd been planning their future together. "We haven't made any definitive decisions about the future," Lisa said carefully. "Right now, we're just focused on minimizing the damage to everyone involved." "The damage is already done, Lisa. The question is how much worse you want to make it." "What's that supposed to mean?" I showed her the same photos I'd shown Tyler, watching her face go through the same progression of emotions. Fear, anger, calculation, resignation. "You've been busy," she said finally. "I'm just getting started. Your boss got some interesting information today. Tyler's parents got some interesting information today. Tomorrow, your friends are going to start getting some interesting information. By next week, everyone in your social and professional circles is going to know exactly what kind of people you both are." "Tom, that's not fair. You're trying to destroy our lives over one mistake. One mistake that lasted 3 months and destroyed my family." Tyler finally found his voice again. "What if we end it? Right now, tonight. What if Lisa and I agree never to see each other again?" "It's too late for that. You should have thought about consequences before you started this mess." "So what? You're just going to ruin us both out of spite. I'm going to make sure you both face appropriate consequences for your choices. Lisa's going to lose her job, her reputation, and her social standing. You're going to lose your family's support, your social connections, and probably your girlfriend when she finds out what you've been doing behind her back." "You're going to tell Maddie?" Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm going to tell everyone, starting with Maddie, then moving on to everyone else who deserves to know what kind of people they're dealing with." Lisa started crying then. Not the elegant tears of a movie heroine, but the messy, desperate sobs of someone whose carefully constructed world was collapsing around her. Tyler put his arm around her shoulders, a gesture that would have been touching if it weren't so completely inappropriate. "Please," she said between sobs. "Tom, please. I know I made mistakes, but destroying my life isn't going to fix anything. Think about Maddie. Think about what this will do to her." "I am thinking about Maddie. I'm thinking she deserves to know the truth about the people in her life. I'm thinking she deserves better than a mother who would betray her and a boyfriend who would cheat on her. She'll hate us both. She should hate you both. You've earned it." Pete cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. "Maybe we should call it a night," he suggested. "Give everyone time to think about their options." "There are no options," I said, standing up from the table. "Lisa, you've got until Monday to tell Maddie the truth, or I'll tell her myself. Tyler, you've got until Monday to transfer schools, or I start sharing your photos with the student newspaper. This conversation is over." I walked out of Murphy's bar with Pete behind me, leaving Lisa and Tyler sitting in the booth like survivors of a natural disaster. The parking lot was cold and quiet, our breath visible in the November air. "You think they'll do what you asked?" Pete said, unlocking his truck. "Doesn't matter. Either way, they're finished." "What about Maddie? She's going to be devastated." She's going to be devastated no matter how this plays out. At least this way, she'll know the truth. I drove home through empty suburban streets, past houses where other families were probably settling in for quiet Friday evenings. Normal families with normal problems, not the twisted mess my life had become in the space of 24 hours. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Maddie's car wasn't there, which meant she was probably out with friends or studying at the library. I was grateful for the solitude. I needed time to prepare for the conversations that were coming. Inside, I poured myself a whiskey and sat in my living room, looking at the spot where I'd caught Lisa and Tyler kissing. Less than 24 hours ago, I'd been a husband and father living a normal, suburban life. Now I was a man planning the systematic destruction of his wife's life and his daughter's boyfriend. The transformation should have bothered me more than it did. Instead, I felt oddly calm, like a chess player who'd finally seen the path to checkmate. Lisa and Tyler had made their choices, and now they were going to live with the consequences. My phone buzzed with a text message from Lisa. "We need to talk. This doesn't have to end badly for everyone." I deleted the message without responding. The time for talking was over. Now it was time for action. Saturday morning brought the kind of gray November weather that matched my mood perfectly. I woke up alone in my bed, Lisa having spent the night at her sister's house according to the note she'd left on the kitchen counter. The note was brief and to the point. "Staying at Karen's tonight. We need space to think. Please don't do anything we'll all regret." Too late for that, I thought, crumpling the note and tossing it in the trash. Maddie came home around noon, her face bright with the kind of happiness that made my chest tighten with guilt. She was carrying shopping bags and humming something under her breath, completely oblivious to the fact that her world was about to implode. "Hey, Dad," she said, dropping her bags by the front door. "Where's Mom?" "She's at Aunt Karen's. Had some kind of sister emergency." "Is everything okay?" "I'm sure it will be." Maddie studied my face with the intuitive perception that daughters seem to inherit automatically. "You look tired. Are you feeling all right?" "Just work stress. Nothing for you to worry about." She didn't look convinced, but she let it slide. "Tyler's coming over later. We're going to watch a movie and order pizza. That okay with you?" The mention of Tyler's name hit like a physical blow, but I managed to keep my expression neutral. "Sure. Your house, too." "Thanks, Dad. You're the best." She disappeared upstairs to her room, leaving me alone with the knowledge that I was about to destroy her happiness in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. The guilt was overwhelming, but so was the anger. Lisa and Tyler had created this situation, not me. I was just making sure the truth came to light. My phone rang around 2 o'clock, Lisa's number, but when I answered, it was Tyler's voice on the other end. "Tom, this is Tyler. I'm with Lisa, and we want to make you an offer." "I'm listening." "We'll end our relationship immediately. Lisa will stay married to you, I'll stay with Maddie, and nobody ever has to know what happened. We'll all go back to the way things were before." "That's not possible, Tyler. You can't unring a bell. Please, just think about it. Everyone gets to keep their life intact. Maddie doesn't get hurt, your marriage stays together, my family doesn't get destroyed, everyone wins." "Everyone except me, you mean? I get to spend the rest of my life married to a woman who betrayed me, knowing that my daughter's boyfriend was sleeping with my wife. It would only be temporary. After Maddie graduates and moves on with her life, Lisa could ask for a divorce then. You'd both be free to start over." The audacity of it was breathtaking. They wanted me to participate in covering up their affair, to help them maintain their lies, to sacrifice my own dignity and self-respect so they could avoid consequences. "Put Lisa on the phone." There was a pause, some muffled conversation, then Lisa's voice. "Tom, please consider what Tyler's suggesting. It's the best solution for everyone." "It's the best solution for you and Tyler. What's in it for me?" "You get to keep your family together. Maddie doesn't have to know about any of this mess." And I get to spend every day knowing that my wife prefers a 21-year-old to her husband of 20 years. Tom, that's not fair. Fair? Lisa, you want me to help you cover up your affair so you can continue lying to our daughter. You want me to shake hands with the kid who's been sleeping with my wife and pretend everything's normal. You want me to sacrifice my dignity, my self-respect, and my sanity so you don't have to face the consequences of your choices. And you're talking to me about fair? I'm talking about what's best for Maddie. What's best for Maddie is knowing the truth about the people in her life. What's best for Maddie is learning that actions have consequences, that betrayal has costs, that trust is something you earn and keep through honest behavior. She's going to hate me. Yes, she probably is. You've earned that too. I hung up and turned off my phone. I'd heard enough. Lisa and Tyler had made their choices, and now they were going to live with the results. Tyler arrived at the house around 6 o'clock, looking like he hadn't slept since our meeting at Murphy's bar. His usual confident demeanor was gone, replaced by the nervous energy of someone who knew he was living on borrowed time. "Hey, Mr. Rourke," he said when I answered the door. "Is Maddie ready?" "She's upstairs getting ready. Come on in." He followed me into the living room, the same room where I'd caught him kissing my wife 2 days earlier. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "About yesterday," he started, but I cut him off. "Not now, Tyler. Maddie will be down in a minute." He nodded and sat on the couch, his hands fidgeting with his phone. I settled into my chair and watched him squirm, enjoying his discomfort more than I probably should have. Maddie came downstairs looking beautiful in jeans and a sweater, her face glowing with happiness at seeing her boyfriend. The contrast between her joy and Tyler's obvious distress was painful to watch. "Ready for movie night?" she said, kissing Tyler on the cheek. "I picked up that action film you wanted to see." "Actually," Tyler said, his voice strained, "I was hoping we could talk first. About us." Something in his tone made Maddie's smile falter. "Talk about what?" "Maybe we should go somewhere private." "We can talk here," I said firmly. "I don't mind." Tyler shot me a desperate look, but I wasn't about to give him privacy to spin whatever lies he'd prepared. If he was going to break up with my daughter, he was going to do it honestly. "Maddie," he said, taking her hands in his, "you know how much I care about you, right?" "Tyler, you're scaring me. What's going on?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking about our relationship, about our future, and I think maybe we want different things." "What kind of different things?" "You're focused on school and your career, and that's great. You should be. But I'm in a different place in my life. I need something more mature, more sophisticated." The words hit Maddie like physical blows. I watched my daughter's face crumple as she processed what Tyler was really saying. "More mature? Tyler, what are you talking about? I thought we were happy." "We were. We are. But happy isn't always enough. Sometimes you need a deeper connection, someone who understands you on a different level." "Someone like who?" Tyler glanced at me, panic flashing in his eyes. He was trying to break up with Maddie without revealing the real reason, but he was doing it in the cruelest way possible, by making her feel inadequate. "It's not about someone else," he lied. "It's about what I need in a relationship." "So I'm not mature enough for you? I'm not sophisticated enough?" "Maddie, that's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" I'd heard enough. Tyler was trying to protect himself and Lisa by making Maddie feel like the problem, and I wasn't going to let that happen. "What Tyler means," I said, standing up from my chair, "is that he's been having an affair with your mother for the past 3 months, and now he's trying to break up with you without admitting what he's really done." The silence that followed was deafening. Maddie stared at me like I'd just spoken in a foreign language, her brain struggling to process what I'd said. Tyler went pale as a sheet, his mouth opening and closing without making any sound. "Dad," Maddie said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "What did you just say?" I said, Tyler's been sleeping with your mother. I caught them kissing in this room on Thanksgiving night, and when I investigated, I found 3 months of emails, text messages, and photos proving they've been carrying on an affair. That's not true, Tyler said desperately. Mr. Rourke, that's not true. Show her the photos, Tyler. Show her the text messages. Show her the emails where you and my wife planned your secret meetings. Maddie looked back and forth between Tyler and me, her face cycling through disbelief, confusion, and growing horror. Tyler, tell me this isn't true. Tell me my dad is lying. Tyler opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. His silence was confession enough. Oh my God, Maddie whispered, sinking onto the couch. Oh my God, it's true. Maddie, please let me explain, Tyler said, reaching for her hands. She jerked away from him like he was on fire. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. It's not what you think. Your mother and I, we have a real connection. We understand each other. You understand each other? Tyler, she's my mother. Age doesn't matter when two people connect the way we connect. The platitude sounded even more ridiculous in front of Maddie than it had at Murphy's bar. My daughter stared at Tyler like she was seeing him for the first time, and maybe she was. You're disgusting, she said quietly. Both of you are absolutely disgusting. Maddie, please, get out. Her voice was getting stronger, anger replacing shock. Get out of my house right now. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this? Tyler, you've been sleeping with my mother. What exactly do you think we need to discuss? Tyler looked at me desperately, as if I might somehow rescue him from the situation he'd created. I just smiled and shrugged. You wanted to break up with her, I said. Congratulations, mission accomplished. This isn't how I wanted it to happen. How did you want it to happen? You wanted to make her feel inadequate and immature so she'd blame herself instead of you? You wanted to protect your reputation by making her think she wasn't good enough for you? That's not what I was doing. That's exactly what you were doing. Maddie stood up from the couch, her whole body shaking with rage. Get out, Tyler. Get out now or I'm calling the police. Maddie, please, just let me explain. Explain what? How you seduced my mother, how you betrayed me, how you lied to my face for 3 months while you were sleeping with her behind my back. I never meant for you to get hurt. You never meant for me to find out. There's a difference. Tyler looked around the room like a trapped animal, searching for an escape route that didn't exist. Finally, he headed for the door, pausing only to look back at Maddie one more time. I'm sorry, he said. I really am sorry. No, you're not, Maddie replied. You're just sorry you got caught. After Tyler left, Maddie and I sat in the living room in stunned silence. My daughter was crying now, not the dramatic sobs of a teenager, but the quiet, heartbroken tears of someone whose trust had been shattered. Where's Mom? She asked finally. At Aunt Karen's. She's been there since yesterday. Does she know that you know? She knows. We had quite a conversation about it. Is she coming home? I don't know. We're getting divorced, Maddie. There's no way to fix this. My daughter nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Good. I don't want to see her right now. I don't want to see either of them. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I'm sorry any of this happened. It's not your fault, Dad. You didn't do anything wrong. We sat together in the growing darkness, father and daughter united by betrayal and loss. Outside, the November wind rattled the windows, and I realized that winter was coming whether we were ready for it or not. The final confrontation with Lisa would have to wait. Tonight was about comforting my daughter and trying to salvage what was left of our family. Tomorrow, I would finish what I'd started. The war wasn't over yet. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of bitter cold that makes your bones ache and your breath visible in small puffs of steam. I'd been awake since 5, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and my laptop, putting the finishing touches on my plan for Lisa's complete social and professional destruction. The divorce papers were already prepared, thanks to a lawyer friend of Pete's who specialized in messy separations. The evidence was organized, backed up, and ready for distribution. Lisa's friends, co-workers, and social contacts were about to receive a very educational email about the kind of person they'd been associating with. Maddie came downstairs around 9, looking like she'd aged 5 years overnight. Her eyes were red-rimmed from crying, and she moved with the careful precision of someone trying to hold herself together through sheer willpower. "Any word from Mom?" she asked, pouring herself coffee with shaking hands. "She texted around midnight, asking if she could come home to get some clothes. I told her to wait until you were ready to see her." "I'm not ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready." "That's your choice, sweetheart. You don't owe her anything right now." Maddie sat across from me at the table, wrapping her hands around her coffee mug like it was an anchor. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "How long do you think this was going on? Really going on, not just the physical stuff?" I'd been dreading this question, but Maddie deserved honesty. "Based on the emails I found, they started getting close about 6 months ago. The physical relationship began around 3 months ago." 6 months. She stared into her coffee like it contained answers to questions she didn't want to ask. "That means it started right after I brought Tyler home to meet you guys. She was planning this from the beginning. Maddie, she was planning to steal my boyfriend from the moment she met him. What kind of mother does that? A selfish one. A woman who's more concerned with her own desires than her daughter's happiness. I trusted her. I told her everything about Tyler, about how much I cared about him, about how I thought he might be the one. And the whole time, she was planning to take him away from me." The pain in my daughter's voice was almost unbearable, but I forced myself to listen. She needed to work through this, and I was the only parent she had left who was capable of putting her needs first. "I keep thinking about all the times they were together," she continued. "All the family dinners, the birthday parties, the casual conversations. Were they planning their meetings? Were they laughing at me behind my back?" "I don't know, sweetheart. I wish I had better answers for you." And Tyler. God, Tyler. All those times he told me he loved me, all those plans we made for the future. Was any of it real? The Tyler you fell in love with probably was real, at least partially. But he's also young and stupid and selfish enough to throw away a good relationship for the thrill of sleeping with an older woman. He made me feel like I wasn't enough, like I was too immature, too unsophisticated. And the whole time, he was comparing me to my own mother. "You are enough, Maddie. You're smart, beautiful, kind, and honest. Tyler's the one who wasn't enough. He wasn't mature enough to handle a real relationship with a woman his own age." My phone buzzed with a text message. "Lisa again. Tom, please. I need to come home. We need to talk about how to handle this." I showed the message to Maddie, who read it with the expression of disgust. "Tell her to stay at Aunt Karen's," she said. "I'm not ready to see her yet." I texted back, "Maddie's not ready. Give her time." The response came immediately. "How much time? I can't stay here forever. As much time as she needs. Tom, be reasonable. This is my house too. Actually, it's my house. I've been paying the mortgage for 20 years. You gave up your claim to reasonable treatment when you decided to have an affair with our daughter's boyfriend." My phone rang a minute later. Lisa's number. But this time I answered. "Tom, please. I know you're angry, but we need to work together for Maddie's sake. We needed to work together for Maddie's sake 6 months ago before you decided to seduce her boyfriend. It's a little late for parental cooperation now. I made a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. But destroying my life isn't going to help Maddie heal from this. Maybe not. But it'll make sure she understands that actions have consequences, that betrayal has costs, that trust is something you earn and keep through honest behavior. Tom, I'm begging you. Don't send those emails. Don't destroy my career, my friendships, my reputation. I'll do anything you want. I'll agree to any divorce terms. I'll give you full custody of Maddie. I'll disappear from your lives completely if that's what you want. It's too late for negotiations, Lisa. You should have thought about consequences before you started this affair. Please, I'm asking you as the father of our child, as someone who loved me once, please don't do this. You're asking me as the woman who betrayed our child, who destroyed our family, who chose her own selfish desires over everyone else's happiness, and my answer is no. I hung up and turned to Maddie, who had been listening to my half of the conversation with grim satisfaction. She's scared, Maddie observed. She should be. Her whole carefully constructed life is about to come crashing down around her. Good. She deserves it. At noon, I sent the emails. Every person in Lisa's social and professional circle received a carefully crafted message detailing her affair, complete with photographic evidence and screenshots of her most damning text messages. Her boss, her co-workers, her friends, her neighbors, the members of her book club and charity organizations. Everyone got the full story. The responses started coming within minutes. Shock, disgust, disappointment, and in some cases, vindictive satisfaction from people who had apparently been waiting for Lisa to fall from her pedestal of suburban perfection. Heather called first, her voice shrill with excitement. Tom, I just got your email. Is this really true? Lisa was having an affair with Tyler? It's true. I have 3 months of evidence. I can't believe it. I suspected something was going on, but I never imagined it was Tyler. That's so inappropriate. He's barely older than Maddie. Yes, it is inappropriate. I thought Lisa's friends should know what kind of person they've been associating with. Oh, absolutely. We had no idea. Poor Maddie, how is she handling this? About as well as you'd expect. And poor you. Tom, I'm so sorry this happened to you. You deserve so much better than Lisa. The calls continued throughout the afternoon. Lisa's boss left a voicemail informing her that she was suspended pending a full investigation into her conduct. Her sister Karen called to scream at me for destroying the family. Tyler's parents called to thank me for bringing their son's behavior to their attention and to assure me that Tyler would be transferring to a different school immediately. By evening, Lisa's entire social media presence had been flooded with comments ranging from disappointed to disgusted. Her carefully curated image as the perfect wife and mother was in ruins, replaced by the reality of a middle-aged woman who seduced her daughter's boyfriend. Lisa herself called around 8 o'clock, her voice hoarse from crying. You did it, she said. You actually did it. My life is over. Your old life is over. You can start a new one, maybe with a little more honesty this time. Tom, they fired me. My boss called an hour ago and said my employment was terminated effective immediately. 20 years with that company, and they fired me over the phone. Actions have consequences, Lisa. My friends won't speak to me. My own sister is ashamed of me. The neighbors are avoiding me. You've turned me into a pariah. I didn't turn you into anything. I just made sure everyone knew who you really were. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to rebuild my life? I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. You should have thought about that before you decided to betray your family. Tom, please. I know I hurt you. I know I hurt Maddie, but this is too much. You've destroyed everything I worked for, everything I built. Everything you built was based on lies and deception. I just revealed the truth. The truth is that I was unhappy in our marriage, that I felt invisible and unappreciated, that Tyler made me feel alive again for the first time in years. The truth is that I made a mistake, but I'm still a human being who deserves some compassion. The truth is that you chose to handle your unhappiness by betraying your daughter instead of talking to your husband. The truth is that you felt invisible, so you decided to make Maddie invisible instead. The truth is that Tyler made you feel young and desirable, so you decided to sacrifice your family for a fantasy. It wasn't a fantasy. Tyler and I have a real connection. Had, past tense. Tyler's parents cut him off financially and forced him to transfer schools. He's probably halfway across the country by now, and I doubt he's thinking about you at all." The silence on the other end of the line stretched long enough for me to count to 20. "He's gone?" Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. "He's gone. His parents made it very clear that his relationship with you was over, and Tyler chose his trust fund over true love. Shocking, I know. But he said he loved me. He said a lot of things. Turns out 21-year-olds aren't the most reliable when it comes to long-term commitment." Lisa started crying then, the kind of broken sobs that come from the complete collapse of everything you thought you wanted. I listened without sympathy, remembering how she'd looked kissing Tyler in my living room, remembering the months of lies and deception, remembering my daughter's tears when she learned the truth. "Tom," she said finally, her voice thick with tears, "can I come home? Just to get my things? Tomorrow, when Maddie's at school. And after that? After that, you figure out your new life. Without me, without Maddie, without Tyler. You wanted excitement and passion and a fresh start? Congratulations. You got it." I hung up and found Maddie standing in the kitchen doorway, having listened to my side of the conversation. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over. Tyler's gone, your mother's career is finished, and everyone knows the truth. Justice served." "Then why don't I feel better?" "Because revenge doesn't heal the hurt, sweetheart. It just makes sure the people who caused the hurt face appropriate consequences." "Will things ever be normal again?" "No. But maybe we can build something better than normal. Something honest." Maddie nodded and went upstairs to her room, leaving me alone in the kitchen where this whole mess had started. Outside, the November wind was howling through the bare trees, and I realized that winter had finally arrived. I poured myself a whiskey and sat in my living room, looking at the spot where I'd caught Lisa and Tyler kissing 3 days earlier. 3 days ago, I'd been a husband and father living a quiet suburban life. Now I was a single father who had systematically destroyed his wife's life and his daughter's boyfriend in an act of calculated revenge. The transformation should have bothered me more than it did. Instead, I felt oddly empty, like a man who had climbed a mountain only to discover there was nothing at the top but wind and cold air. My phone buzzed with one final text message, this time from Tyler. "Mr. Rourke, I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you and Maddie can forgive me." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late to matter, and some forgiveness is too expensive to give. I finished my whiskey and went to bed, alone in the house where I'd raised my daughter and buried my marriage. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new conversations, new attempts to build a life from the wreckage of the old one. But tonight, I was content to sit in the silence and remember what it felt like to win, even if winning felt a lot like losing.